be on my Netflix queue for ever. Seems like I've had this since I got Netflix. Pretty much, it's been in my instant watch queue. Finally got around to watching it. This is Into the Wild from 2007. So yeah, this is actually based on a novel or a book by John Krakauer, and it follows. It's actually like a biography about a real guy, Christopher McCandless. He's played here by Emile Hirsch, and so when he got out of college, he was going to Emory, and afterwards he decided to pretty much get rid of all of his possessions and just kind of discover himself, try to be, I guess, one with nature. And so he just started traveling and wanted to go to Alaska. Was kind of his end goal, was to get up to Alaska. And so it just follows his journey there. And the movie just pretty much, and the story just follows Chris when he's going through, kind of gets into what he's thinking. You know, he just really wants to be pretty much one with nature and just discover the beauty of it and kind of thing, and discover himself, I guess, is the main thesis behind the story, or what he was trying to do. And throughout, we get, we meet the people that he meets as well, and there's some pretty interesting characters there. One of them being Vince Vaughn, shows up as a farmer, so he works for him for a bit to make a little bit of money. He meets Kristen Stewart at, I don't know, kind of like a trailer community type thing in the desert. And some of the first people he meets are Catherine Keener and her boyfriend or husband at the time. He meets them like on a beach. Then he actually meets them again, where same place he meets Kristen Stewart. So they kind of come in and out. And then one of the last people he meets is Hal Holbrook, is this older guy that he meets, and starts to do a little bit of leather work with him, and they get pretty friendly and stuff like that. And then just some of the other actors in the movie are Jenna Malone plays his sister, his younger sister, and then William Hurt and Marcia Gay Harden play his parents. And there's quite a bit about what's going on with his parents, and apparently his dad was a really good physicist. I think he worked for NASA, made a lot of money, and then like his parents had like kind of a bitter divorce type thing going on, or didn't like being together but didn't separate. I don't know. I can't remember. I watched this a while ago now. But they get into quite a bit of the parents and stuff and what they're going through at the same time. So, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty basic plot, but it's done really well. It's actually directed by Sean Penn. He's obviously an Oscar-winning actor, but this is one of the few movies he's directed. It's probably the most well-received of his movies for directing, anyway. I haven't seen any other ones he's directed. But, yeah, a really, really good performance by Emile Hirsch as Chris McCandless. He goes through the whole extreme dieting kind of thing that seems like actors that really want to show their commitment to the art form of acting have to do. So he gets pretty gaunt when he's starving in Alaska. It's pretty creepy looking, but he's really good in this. He does a good job. He was a good actor that I really liked when he was about this time, 2007 era. He was really good, and he kind of fell off. I think the last thing I saw him in was maybe Killer Joe. I think he's kind of had problems with partying a bit too much, but he does a good job. There's a really, really good soundtrack. It's done by Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam. He was in charge of the soundtrack, so that's really good. I actually felt really bad for his parents throughout the movie. It really gets into their history a little bit, why he's kind of trying to distance himself from his parents, but at the same time he leaves college and does this little adventure of his own, but he never tells his family, and they get to that kind of part of it, especially when he's with like Catherine Keener's character and the guy that she's with, because she tells a story about like she hasn't heard from her son in a long time, and just kind of destroys her, and he kind of maybe gets the hint a little bit that maybe he should say something to his parents, but he never does. It's just kind of, you know, when I was watching, I just felt bad for the parents because they're spending a long time, this whole, like, multiple months, it's over a year, they're trying to look for him. They don't know what happened to him. They don't think he died, but, you know, they don't really know either, so it's just scary for them, I guess, what could be happening to him, and he just never lets them know. It's kind of messed up on his part. What else? A couple movies that this really reminded me of. Most recent would be like Wild with Reese Witherspoon. Very similar, just trying to discover yourself in nature's kind of thing. Hers was about kind of getting over addiction and stuff. She was walking the Pacific Crest Trail in that. And then a couple that came out before this, The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio is really good, where, you know, they're going to that isolated beach area and just trying to wall themselves off from the rest of society and be there with nature. And then a couple of the aspects of Castaway, survival aspects and stuff like that, being alone. I just thought of that as well. So, let's see. Overall, I just kind of thought it's a good movie. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. So I really liked it. It's definitely worth a watch. I know it's on like lists of movies to watch, and it is very good. But at the end, you know, I don't think they're actually trying to go for this hero or anything, or he really, you know, melded with nature. That's what he's trying to do, but he just seemed really, really incompetent towards the end because, I mean, okay, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. I already knew it was going to happen at the end. This is quite a few years old now, but, you know, he dies at the end, and he's just stuck in this van, this bus, the VW bus, and I was just reading stuff about it afterwards, and it said if he just had a map, he could have walked out of where he was. It shows him getting, like, kind of stuck where he is by a river. He can't cross it the same way that he came over earlier in the year, but I don't know, he just seems very, very unprepared. And I mean, you just don't go to Alaska, the wilderness, and not be prepared for it. So I don't know, the ending just kind of made me feel like, well, that was kind of a waste. You know, he just kind of died for nothing. And I don't think that, like, Sean Penn, when he made this, they're trying to say, you know, he was some sort of martyr that should be looked up to or anything. I think they're just kind of telling the story. So, you know, it is what it is. Also, I read, which is kind of sad, that people, like at least 3 other people had died trying to visit this spot where Chris McCandless died. One of them, like, got swept away by the river, and then I can't remember what exactly happened to the other ones, but I mean, and I think this was after reading the book, because this was the book before the movie, when these people went to try to do this. But it's like, really? The guy dies at the end, and then you're going to go and try to emulate it without, like, proper survival training? That seems even dumber, but whatever. So yeah, just ranting there. Like I said, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. It's definitely a good watch. So yeah, check it out. All right.